The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. At the sight of the crowds, Jesus' heart was moved with pity for them because they were troubled and abandoned, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is abundant, but the laborers are few. So ask the master of the harvest to send out laborers for his harvest." Then he summoned his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits to drive them out and to cure every disease and illness. The names of the 12 apostles are these. First, Simon, called Peter, and his brother Andrew, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James, the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon from Cana, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. Jesus sent out these 12 after instructing them thus: "Do not go into pagan territory or enter a Samaritan town. Go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. As you go, make this proclamation: the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, drive out demons. Without cost you have received. Without cost you are to give." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. It seems like the signs are all over town. Help wanted. With the unemployment rate here in New Hampshire recently hitting an all-time record low, to find anyone to do anything is next to impossible. Even my landscaper, who usually does all the mulching around here, couldn't find any help this summer, leaving us mulchless. The weeds are growing. It's a real crisis. But I said, it's okay, I'll do it myself. And I went down to Ace Hardware. I picked up a whole bunch of bags of the black mulch, and I got to work. And in between everything else I was doing, I would start mulching some of the flower beds around here. All last Sunday afternoon I was mulching, until suddenly I realized it was about 5:30 p.m. and I had the 6 o'clock Mass in just a few minutes. And I looked down and my hands were covered and stained with black dye from the mulch and the dirt and grass. And I said, I'm going to have a really hard time getting all this off in time for the Mass. I ran inside, I started scrubbing. I used a whole bar of soap, and I managed to look presentable by 6 o'clock, though even now you might not want to look underneath my fingernails. All in a day's work as a priest, I guess. Jesus today is complaining about a lack of workers. The harvest is abundant, but the laborers are few. Ask the master of the harvest to send out more workers. Jesus looks at all the people out there, the lonely, lost people who don't know God, and his heart is moved with pity for them because they are like sheep without a shepherd. Help wanted, Jesus begins to shout. Where can we find some workers to go out and gather in this great harvest? Where can we find a shepherd who will shepherd all these people? Of course, the great irony is that Jesus is the good shepherd. He's the perfect shepherd. He's exactly what we're looking for. Prayers answered. But Jesus resists the temptation to do all the work by himself. Maybe he could, but he knows that if he takes all the work, the apostles are going to lose out on opportunities to serve, to grow, to learn some things. And so he doesn't do it. That's a lesson I probably need to learn. Sometimes I think I can just do everything by myself. I'll mulch and say Mass all in the same afternoon and everything else beside. And, I do probably a decent enough job at everything, but how often do I not give other people the opportunity to serve? You can be so much more effective if you enable other people to share in the work, if you work together as a team. As one employee said, you always should work together as a team in your work. If for no other reason, then you have someone to share the blame with when things go south. I remember when I was in my last parish, at one point I had some health issues, And that's when I finally was kind of forced to slow down. And that was also the moment when my parish really took off, because I took a step back, but that forced so many other people to come forward and take a step forward. And it ended up making the parish so alive. It was like the best thing that ever happened. And, maybe I should try that here. Maybe I'll just try having a pina colada or something and see how it goes in the parish. Jesus is trying to show us it's work with others. You can multiply the work. That's what Jesus does. He gathers together a team of 12 apostles, men of very different backgrounds, professions, work styles, experience. He brings them all together, gives them a little bit of training, and sends them out. And he says, now you go out and cure the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons, proclaim the kingdom. This might as well be the job description of Jesus. He's saying, do the work that I was sent to do. Maybe it's like your boss saying, you do all the work I was supposed to do. But Jesus does that, and do they do as good a job as Jesus could do? Probably not. They're learning, they make mistakes, and yet they do a pretty good job. They're able to reach all these different villages, and suddenly something amazing is happening. Where Jesus could only be in one village at a time, suddenly 12 villages at a time are being reached. 12 times the work is getting done. And they all rejoice at what God is able to do through each person. It's amazing what happens when we allow others to share in our work, when we allow God to help us and share his gifts with all of us. So much more gets done. And yet Jesus also resists the temptation to make the work infinite. He puts a limit on the work. He says, okay, only go to the towns of Israel. Don't go to pagan towns. Don't even go to the towns of Samaria, as close as they are. Only stay here. And that's a valuable lesson as well, that we do need to put a limit on our work. We can't answer emails all weekend long. We can't answer emails all vacation long. We have to spend time with our family. We have to get a break for no other reason so that we can be more effective in our work later. But also to realize there are more important things. Sometimes I'm not going to go over here and start expanding when we're not ready for that yet. Jesus puts a limit on the work. And in doing so, he gives the apostles this wonderful experience. They come home rejoicing for all that they had done. It was just enough for them to accomplish. And it ends up being a great training ground for what they're going to do later after the resurrection. They'll go out to every nation and proclaim Jesus Christ, proclaim the free gift of salvation in God. Without cost you have received, without cost you are to give, Jesus says. Oh, and there's the problem right there. Jesus is not paying his apostles enough. No wonder he's having a hard time getting help. He's not paying them anything. How can you do, especially if workers are few, they can demand more money. There's a reason why Walmart's paying $27 an hour right now. If you need the help, you got to pay for it. You got to provide a just wage so that people can support a family, so that people can live a dignified life. Otherwise, in the church, we often do this. We say the same thing as Jesus. Well, we can't pay very much, but, the benefits are out of this world, so that's an advantage at least. My brother recently got a call, sort of out of the blue. He's an accountant, and this company down in Massachusetts called him, and they contacted him through LinkedIn, which is a social network that helps connect companies with potential employees, and they offered him a job. And my brother was not looking to move at all. He was very happy in his work, but as a lark, he decided to take the interview. And when the question came, what are your salary expectations? He threw out some crazy number that he didn't think they would go for, and they said, yeah, we can do that. And now my brother had a choice. He was very happy where he was. He loved his boss, loved his coworkers. They live up in Sunapee. They love the family being there. They can go swim at Lake Sunapee. You disrupt all that only to go make some more money down in Massachusetts. Now, money is not everything. He was not looking forward to doing a commute. In the end, he really had to think and pray about it. And in the end, he did decide to take the new job, which was probably the right choice. He has 5 kids to feed, and a couple of weeks later, he called me up and said, Matthew, we have some good news. We're pregnant again. We're having another child. And I said, oh, wow, you're almost up to where mom and dad was, 7 kids, amazing. And then he called me back a couple weeks later, and he said, actually, I was wrong about telling you we're having a new baby. We're having twins. And so I guess the new job came just in time. Maybe we wish somebody would call us up and offer us a new job. You know, we get frustrated in work sometimes. We start saying, why am I the only one working around here? Why doesn't people work together as a team? I feel underappreciated. I feel undercompensated. But work is not everything. It's not even the most important thing. How much more important than our work, our job, is our vocation? A job is what we do, but a vocation is who we are. It's who we're called by God to be. And when Jesus says, pray that the harvest master will send out more workers, he's reminding us of the importance of praying for vocations, praying for enough priests to provide us the sacraments, praying for enough young people to respond to the call to religious life, to Christian marriage, to a dedicated single life, to the diaconate, so that we have all these different ways that God's love is brought into the world. Today we celebrate one of the most important vocations, and a vocation that's often underappreciated, the vocation of being a father. How badly we need good fathers in our world today to remind us of the incredible love of our Father up in heaven. And being a father is a difficult job. Someone once rather humorously put together a list of all the different jobs that a father has to do to be considered a good father. There are times that fathers need to be a provider, a doctor, a plumber, a janitor, a handyman, a babysitter, a pastor, an adventurer, a coach, a judge, a trash collector, a husband, a teacher, a counselor, and a hero. And you don't even get paid for any of those jobs. If you add mulcher to the list, it's pretty much what a spiritual father has to do as well. Is it any wonder, in the face of such responsibility, many men feel inadequate to that task? They shrink from the responsibility. To young men, especially growing up in a world that often preaches put yourself first, that might seem unappealing, either natural or spiritual fatherhood. But here's the secret. You don't have to be a perfect father. You just have to be a father. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be there. There's one Father who's perfect. He's up in heaven. And you don't have to do it alone. You can do it as part of a team. God is on your team. He's on your side. Call upon him. He'll come to your aid. He'll come to your help every single day. And, you know, the moment, and yes, there are challenges to being a father, but the moment you hold your son or daughter in your hands, you'll realize all those challenges are worth it. Or maybe the parallel for spiritual fatherhood is holding the Eucharist in your hands at the consecration. You realize, wow, this is all worth it. There's also rewards to being a father that are beyond anything that we can imagine. With Father's Day coming up, a man who works in the medical field recently went to LinkedIn and posted this letter. Dear dads, your most important job might not be what you talk about on LinkedIn. In fact, it might be frowned upon to talk about here. And that might be why we need to disrupt that mentality. Tonight, I just spent the evening with my baby girl, Beatrix May, for my first daddy-daughter dance night. Let me tell you, I didn't know what to expect, but she picked out this purple dress and another pink one and asked me to pick which one she should wear. She picked out my shirt and tie. She dragged me onto the dance floor and wouldn't let me leave. Then she fell asleep in my arms a few minutes ago. I'm going to die someday, and this image will be one of the few that will flash before my eyes in my final moments. And this is the whole point of my life. She, among others, is why I work. Being a dad is my work. I hope I have encouraged other dads. Your employer, client, boss, coworker, etc. will forget you tomorrow. Your son or daughter desperately needs you in the most ultimate way. You cannot be replaced in their eyes. Never forget how meaningful your work is as a dad. Professionalism has its place, but we don't live to work. We work to live.